See, we got our pints.
We do.
Cheers.
Yeah, my buddy kind of was harassing me for missing one episode without the pints, and I'm like, all right, dude, you got me. It is, to be fair, it is called Pints and Professionals.
It is called Pints and Professionals. You got to have at least a couple pints.
Yeah. It is 7 o'clock, so it's
right. It's plenty of time. Well, it's past noon. So.
Yeah. Anytime after noon.
And it's Wednesday.
I think there's a song that goes like any. Who's the guy who came up with it's 5 o'clock somewhere? Come on, help me out.
Alan Jackson.
Oh, that's
Alan
right.
Jackson,
okay.
featuring Jimmy Buffett, of course.
R.I.P.
Rest in peace, Jimmy Buffett. He was actually my top listened to artist this year because I share Spotify with my dad. So, to be fair, I love Jimmy Buffett, and I do listen to Jimmy Buffett, but it was really on heavy rotation on his boat playlist.
You're not going to have a bad time if you're listening to Jimmy Buffett. When you're listening to Jimmy Buffett, you're having a good time.
I agree with that, and underrated songwriter, wrote a lot of great ballads. I
mean, he has bars named after him. What are they called? What are his fans called?
And his parrot heads.
Parrot heads. That's right.
Yeah.
So you were in meetings.
I was in meetings today.
What were the meetings about?
My day job, I work as a financial analyst for a big tech company.
Holy shit.
So I was, I sit on like meetings with like our sales guys and help them give them numbers basically from a spreadsheet and kind of help them manage the business. It's my day job.
That's still, I think that's fascinating and cool. So you're good with numbers?
Yes, somewhat. Good enough.
I'm an idiot when it comes to math. Well, yeah, I just never liked it. Geometry, algebra was just another language to me, and I just didn't care for it.
Yeah, so math, it's like you don't have to be like that good at math as long as you're like a little organized and you can like think a little bit logically. You can pretty much, and if you can work a spreadsheet, you can pretty much do what I do.
Well, spreadsheets are now something that I have to work in as a business owner, and again, It's part of the job that I absolutely detest and hate, but I get the point of it.
Yeah.
So you went to college?
Yeah, I went to college. I'm from South Carolina originally, Spartanburg, South Carolina. I went to college in Charleston, South Carolina, the College of Charleston.
Yeah.
It's 10,000 undergrad students there, and right in beautiful downtown Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
Which is, for my money, the best city in the United States.
I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've never been.
It's awesome. I'll be there this weekend actually. So I went there, studied accounting. Graduated in 2020, moved to Austin to get my master's degree in accounting at UT. So
Greyson, how old are you?
I'm 20. I actually just turned 26 on
Sunday. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say like you're 22, but
no. People think that though. I got 23 the other day.
I do remember the first time I did encounter you was at a Moon Tower Entertainment shoot, which sounds like they produced gigolos, but I remember they were trying to get you to dance and loosen up a bit. I'm like, this kid's not the dancing type, but he can sure as shit sing.
Yes, well, I've become a lot more of the dancing type. That was my early Moon Tower days where I was pretty unaccustomed to singing without a guitar in my hands.
Yeah.
So I've definitely loosened up a little bit since then. But I would never claim to be a dancer. I would claim to be a singer.
Okay, yeah. Which you're remarkable at, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
So where do you call home? South Carolina, someplace, or?
Yeah, South Carolina's. I was born and raised there. I lived there my whole life until I finished college and moved to Austin. So
all of the 20 years of your existence, 20? No, that would make you. What year? How old were you when you moved here? See, math again.
I was 21 when I moved here. When I finished college. I moved here, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So where did you get your musical background? Did you just kind of discover it yourself? Was it given to you by your parents?
Yeah, no. My parents, they aren't musicians. They're music lovers. And my mom, even she likes to write songs. She used to help me write a lot of songs back when I was growing up. But so we just in the car would always have the radio on. We'd always be listening to Bob Seger, or Elvis, or Aerosmith, or the Rolling Stones, like all the classics was what they listened to. And I just, from the time I could talk, I loved singing along to the radio. And so in the back of the car, I was singing along to everything. I was learning all these songs, and my parents kind of took notice that I really enjoyed singing. Yeah. So they, were like, "Hey, do you like singing? Do you want to take lessons? Do you want to go into talent shows, or like, do you want to sing?"
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I would love to. So literally from, the age of like 5, we would go to Myrtle Beach for vacation, and we would go to like the beach bar there, and during the day they'd have a band playing, and I would get up there and sing Old Time Rock and Roll by Bob Seger with this band when I was 5. And so it's just, my whole life since I can remember anything, I can remember loving to sing.
Wow. That's pretty fascinating. And when did you pick up the guitar?
So I think I started taking guitar lessons when I was probably 8 or 9, and like didn't really take it that seriously at first. And I was learning like classical guitar, which is obviously really cool. And I wish I knew how to play classical guitar now. But when I was 8, I was like, oh, this is boring. I want to play all the songs that I like to sing.
I want to play the songs that are going to get me the girls.
Right,
exactly. That's why every guy picks up guitar.
Yes,
to some point. You're like,
yes, of course. And so, eventually when I was probably like 11 was when I like started being able to play and sing at the same time. And then like I wrote my first song when I was 11, I think.
Do you remember what it was about?
I do. It was because I actually like recorded it and everything with like a studio in my hometown. I'm sure
11.
I could find
That's
it
so
somewhere.
cool.
It was called Can't Get It Right. It was about not being able to get it right with girls, not being able to find love. Which obviously
at age 11, man, heartbreak starts so soon.
It does. I was obviously already very experienced in that realm, so I took what I knew.
And so you graduated 2020?
That's right.
Yep. And then what made you want to come to Austin? What was the allure?
Yeah, I'd heard a lot about Austin from just the fact that their music scene was such a popular aspect of it, and I was just ready to get out of South Carolina. I'd been there my whole life, and I could have stayed there to go to grad school, but I was like, let's go somewhere else. And I was doing research, and turns out Texas has a really great accounting program, and Austin's a really cool city. I could do music there, so I said, let's apply. I didn't think I'd get in because I was a decent student, but not no genius. But I got in, and I was came to visit like one time, got a feel for the city a little bit, and was like sold, and like I gotta be here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry about the mosquitoes that are buzzing around, dude. It's like right by your chest. I thought they I thought they got murked like yesterday when it dropped below like 40.
No, it's 60 again. They're back.
They suck.
They're back.
So in what month did you move in? Because there was a pretty big event that happened in 2020.
Yes. So spring of 2020 was my last semester of college. So I did the last 8 weeks of college online from like my house in Spartanburg, my family's house.
Sucks.
Yeah, it did suck, dude. Getting your last semester of college cut in half is never what you want. So yeah, spent that whole second half of the semester at home, and then like still moved here because we still had in-person classes when I came to UT. It was like you had to sit 6 feet apart and you had to wear a mask and all that stuff, and there'd be some online stuff too. But yeah, there was enough in-person stuff to justify like moving here.
Right.
So.
And so, I guess I remember asking that question in the studio of like, how have you seen, the music scene change from 2020? But during that time, what were you searching for in regards to like playing shows or just connecting with the music industry or world here?
Yeah, obviously when I accepted to go to UT, when I decided I was going to move to Austin, this was like before COVID hit. So in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm going to go to this like thriving music scene, and then obviously COVID happened. So like when I first got here in, the fall of 2020, there wasn't much music going on at that point,
No.
I'm sure there was a little bit, but obviously, and I knew nobody when I moved here.
Yeah.
Nobody. So I had zero connections or anything. So like basically like the whole year that I was in grad school until like May of 2021, I wasn't playing music out at all. I was just playing, on my couch at home. And that's when I realized that music had to be a part of my life, and it had to be a major part of my life, because that year was so brutal for me, like not playing out. Because I went from, like I was playing gigs in my hometown by the time I was like 14, and all the way through college I would play, not every night, but a couple times a month I was gigging. So like I had that experience, and I didn't know what music was going to be for me yet at that point. I just knew it was something I enjoyed doing and had fun doing. But after, moving here and then not playing for, 10 months, I was like, I started to go crazy.
I can imagine. Was this your first time kind of away from home or leaving the state from?
Yeah. I mean, so my college was like 3 hours away from where I grew up. So
Okay.
I was away, but
But not that
and I
far
was with
away.
people I knew, and like this was the first time I had truly gone to a city I had, never been to before. And literally, I didn't know anybody out here when I first moved here.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's kind of lonely at first.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've never done that before. I mean, just when I left Alpine, I did it with one of my best buds, and it was easy. He's a sociable guy. I was still kind of quiet and reserved, but he was like the party animal, and he was very sociable. So
Yeah.
it was very easy for me to kind of like glom onto his friends and have some good times. But man, I can't fathom doing that now. I don't think that's in me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be in Austin for a while because I love it here. I got a lot of things going on here, but I'm also the type of person where like I'm always open to a new adventure.
Okay.
So like I'm not, it didn't necessarily scare me that I was moving to a city where I knew nobody, and like I was really excited about it, obviously, because I knew I'd make connections and whatnot. So
But I mean, did the pandemic like kind of make you rethink things of like, oh, this is not good, this is a worldwide thing,
right?
And
yeah,
we were all going through this moment of the world might end at some point, you know. That was very real and very scary, and I can't fathom. I'm married to I was going to say a doctor. Well, technically she kind of is a doctor, but she's a wound care nurse. And thankfully she was able to keep me, grounded, keep me like, it's okay, Ramon, it's fine. Like, you're young, you're healthy, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to imagine going through that by myself.
Yeah, no, I mean,
maybe I'm just a big pussy.
I mean, it was interesting in South Carolina, and like Texas was kind of the same way, where like they were like, let's open shit up again, like let's not shut down for too long. So like literally by like May of the May before I moved to Austin, and I was like, I just finished college, I was in my hometown, like my hometown bars started opening up again, so like we were still kind of living a little risky. And so in my mind I was like, well, Texas will probably be a similar situation. And like obviously I was like, I want to be safe, like I'm not trying to go super spread anything here, but it's like I think I'll still be able to like make friends and meet people, which I was. So
I think I'm just trying to carve this narrative that you were just all by yourself, cramped up in your room, just like, I don't know.
Like, trapped in my room. Like, yeah, no.
That's the image that I had, but that's completely wrong. And that's me just like.
It was definitely like the first, I remember like the first couple weeks that I moved out here and like was like just starting the program at school. And I was literally like going crazy because I didn't know anybody. And it was really, it was hard to meet people in the classes because you're sitting 6 feet apart and you're wearing a mask and everybody's like this. I don't know like how to talk to people.
This is weird. I don't like this. Yeah.
Right. So I literally like went into, we had like a group me for our entire program. And one Saturday I was like, I'm going to go insane. Like, does anyone want to go out and get a beer? And that's how I like made my friend group of my grad school, crew. So
right on. And so do you remember the first time you performed here in Austin, like in front of people on stage or?
Yeah. So it was probably like April of 2021, and a buddy and we went to the Blind Pig on 6th Street.
Love that spot.
And they have a guy named Joe Vega who's like their resident musician. He's there a lot of nights, just, plays acoustic by himself, or he'll have, someone playing lead guitar with him, but he's their guy. And he had like his information, his Venmo and stuff. He's like, if you want to play a song, give me a tip and like you can come up here, sing a song with me, whatever. He's very, open with it. So I was like, well, I'm gonna send this guy some
Pay
money.
me and you'll get to play the song.
Yeah. I was like, hey, can I sing this?
It's a good business model. Like that.
And I said, hey, can I sing? I think I sang like 3 a.m. by Matchbox 20.
Oh, good song.
I just went up there and sang with him, and he was like, are you a musician? Like, you play? And I was like, yeah, I play. Like, so kind of met him that way. I went out there a couple more times and he was playing, and I would like, get up and play a song on his guitar and stuff. And so he kind of like got me my first ever gig in Austin, which was playing, happy hour at the Blind Pig. And I started doing that every weekend for like a year at least.
Right on.
So that was like the first time I got on stage in Austin.
And when did you I guess how did Moon Tower Entertainment get on the radar?
Yeah, so the whole like kind of story and the whole path that I've taken so far in the Austin music scene has been like through just meeting people while I'm playing. So like I was playing at the Blind Pig and playing on 6th Street, and then from there I start meeting people who need entertainment for like a corporate event, or something like that, a business retreat, whatever it might be.
A wedding, maybe.
A wedding, perhaps. And so just doing a bunch of like private stuff. I played like a corporate Christmas party for like a construction company. And the lady that had booked me for that worked for the company, she was really good friends with Drew and Amos from Moon Tower Entertainment, and recommended me to them. And I was like wedding singing, like, I've never done that before. Like I've played, some songs for like a reception or whatever, but like I never fully like been in a wedding band type of thing. But I was like, well, I'll try anything once, so like, let's give it a shot. Like, I want to play as much as I can. This seems like a good way to make connections and play music. So this is, I think it was 2023, the beginning of 2023, when I auditioned for Moon Tower and started doing the wedding stuff.
Was the audition nerve-wracking, scary?
It wasn't scary. I mean, Drew and Amos are really nice, and
right.
It was just like in their house.
But you're singing in like an environment that is not, I don't know. I like when you're singing in a house, you're singing to nobody essentially.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like you don't have like a microphone with a nice little echo on it or reverb,
the lights
and like
and all the
it's just like
it's
just like can you actually just sing into a room like with nothing. But I knew I could do that. But then obviously as part of the audition, I had to do a little bit of like choreography.
Yeah.
So that was probably the part I was like most nervous about.
Wow.
And I remember what Amos said. He's like, yeah, like you're not like the worst white guy dancer we've ever seen. So yeah, like that'll play.
I think people are more enamored with your voice than your
right.
that dance moves.
Well, I think 2025 is going to be a big year for me in the dancing department. I've got a lot of stuff in the works to really up my moves.
I cannot wait to see it. Yeah, what they've done, I'm so fascinated about what they've done. Is they took like a creative art and made it a business. And a lot of people will think like, oh, that's so uncool. Like you took music but I find it fascinating because they found a livelihood for not only themselves, but for other musicians that desire that, that income.
Yeah. I mean, it's great what they're doing. It really is, because it's allowing so many extremely talented musicians to make a living playing music,
right? Which
is the goal for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And so you get those wedding gigs and you're making they pay you really well to do those,
right?
As they should, because it's hard work. And then all of a sudden it's like, now that I'm not like struggling to get by playing music, like I have time to really focus on the projects that I'm truly passionate about, because I have this, other source.
And on top of the financial aspect that you're getting from a company like that, you're also getting the experience, the stage experience.
Yes.
You're getting the reps in. And it's a beautiful thing.
No, that's been huge for me too, is like, I think getting that wedding band experience has really helped me just become a better performer overall. And it's given me better stage presence. And so I feel when I go up and do a gig when it's just me and my guitar, I still feel like I can command, the room or whatever. And like, I feel like because of that experience I now have with like a wedding band thing, like I feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more confident.
When did you feel comfortable with labeling yourself as a musician? Because anybody who gets a guitar,
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't call them a musician. They can
Right.
maybe play, you know, a few chords here or there. Like I have guitars in my other office, and it's like, I don't really consider myself a musician. When did you finally was comfortable enough to call yourself a musician?
Yeah. I mean, I think when I started, you know, getting paid a little bit to play gigs in my hometown, you know, at restaurants, or I would even, you know, I played in a band, like I would play at bars that I was like technically not allowed to be in because I was 14.
But isn't that a cool feeling?
Yeah.
You're not of age, but because you possess a talent, you're above the law in a way. Yeah.
It was a really cool feeling. And so, yeah, as soon as I started doing that, I was like, okay, like, yeah, I'm a musician now. Like, and certainly I, you know, had a long ways to go, like, and I still do. There's always, you know, room for improvement. But, I think, you know, the fact that I was like able to be good enough at what I was doing at that time to like play gigs in my hometown, I was like, okay, like this is something that I can do, and like I can do professionally if I want to, you know.
Sorry, in a moment we'll have to pause for a Resolute Media commercial break, written by one of my buddies, so I'm interested what he's going to come up with.
Oh, awesome.
We got an
ad read.
Yeah, we got an ad read for my own company because no one else is going to sponsor the show.
Well, we're still early, right?
It is
Yeah.
very early.
We basically just kind of did an ad read for Moon Tower, if you think about it.
That's true. Yeah,
So,
the unofficial sponsor.
yeah.
Well, maybe they'll become a sponsor. We'll see. We'll find out
see.
when we interview musicians. We'll talk that out. Do you ever get the imposter syndrome feeling?
All the time.
Is it like every time you go up on stage, or
no? It's not when I go up on
waves?
stage. It goes away when I come up on stage. When I go on stage, because then that's when I feel 100% confident in what I'm doing. You know, I think for me it comes from like all the crap that is social media, and you know, it's really hard when you're in this age of like being an artist, when everything you've got to be on social media, you've got to be posting, you've got to be building your brand, you know, as I hate to call it that, but that's what it is.
An audience. You're building an audience.
And an audience, of course, yeah. And so when you see like other people who are doing what you're doing and they're getting opportunities, and you're like, oh, like, maybe I'm not like good enough to be getting those opportunities, or, you know, like why are they getting that opportunity and I'm not, like, and like, I hate when I think that way, because I catch myself doing that, and I'm like,
it's inevitable, dude.
Dumb.
It's inevitable.
And like, that's not what it's about at all. For me, it's always been about the music. And so to be in like the rat race of it, I guess you could call it, that's when I get that imposter syndrome feeling of like, what am I doing? You know, like, so I've been really, really like practicing being appreciative of like how far I've come and like what I've done.
Yeah.
And try not to think about like what I haven't accomplished yet.
That is, I mean, that rings true, I think, for any creative. You get on social media, because I try to, you know, get new ideas from a video edit or whatever camera lens they're using. And so, and in the same vein, I'm also like, fuck you. Why did you get that job? You know, like I work just as hard as you. Your shit's not that much better than mine. And then I'm like, Ramon, stop it. They put in far more effort that you're not aware of.
Right.
Behind the scenes, they're probably emailing thousands of people, and you're not doing that.
Yeah.
And so basically it came back to me like, just Ramon, work harder, do better, focus on you, and celebrate those individuals. Because one, they're in your own community.
Yes.
They're in your own industry. And if opportunities are coming their way, then you just have to buy your time and bite your time. Is it buy your time or bite your time?
I think it's bide.
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 You have to be patient.
You have to, yes.
And more opportunities will come your way. But it's that feeling of a jealousy is always going to be there, because that's just a natural human feeling. And
yeah,
I think on top of that, you have to realize social media is a tool to garner, you know, your audience and capture their attention.
Yeah.
And if you're not seeing the numbers, then just use that as positive reinforcement to do better.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I mean, you know, I think about it like, if you're at a corporate job, and there's always that feeling of like, oh, this person, you know, I got passed over for a promotion and this person got it, but like I work harder than them and yada, yada, yada. So like that stuff that exists in every field. That's a natural human feeling, like you said. It's just a little bit like different for us because, with music and with a creative endeavor, it's like there's not such a clear cut path or ladder that you can climb. It's like you got to kind of throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks and what works for you.
Right.
And so, I know it's not, and I never feel like vindictive towards like the individual that I'm looking at. I'm just, it's that feeling of like, when does that opportunity come for me? And that's like, oh, look at like, what am I doing? Like, I'm doing all these things really well. Maybe I could do these things better, and like that'll open up more doors.
And I think you also, unfortunately, you have to come to the realization that maybe that opportunity never comes for me. But whatever happens, I'm going to have fun doing what I want to do, and I'm going to be appreciative. 30 years down the line, when I look back at this video here right now, like, hey, that was a fun moment in time.
Right.
If you decide to have kids or whatever, like they can look at that video and be like, oh, look at how young, Greyson was.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like why I'm continuing to do this, is because it's, it's a little time capsule of where we are now, and hopefully somewhere down the line when we're in our McMansions, because God knows I want to be rich.
Right.
I can look back and I'm like, God, look at how stupid you were, Ramon. What were you thinking?
That's the goal. I mean, and I say that a lot. Like, my girlfriend gets on to me. She's like, you need to be less hard on yourself. You need to be grateful for where you're at. And I'm like, yes, that is really, really good to practice. And you should be appreciative of what you have and what you've done and what you've accomplished so far. But I'm like, I kind of like looking back on myself and being like, damn, I was dumb back then.
Oh
like,
my God.
and I'm like, now I can feel appreciative. I'm like, wow, look how far I've come from where I was, 3 years ago or whatever.
How do you find that balance of being appreciative where you are, but also like using it as fuel to, further your career or push yourself beyond the boundaries of what you think you're capable of?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've always been really hard on myself, and especially since like,
did you grow up Catholic?
No, okay. I did not actually. And I don't know where it comes from. I mean, I was always like pushed to do well in school and stuff by my parents. Sure. And I was pushed to, practice my music and stuff by them, which I am, eternally thankful for that they did that. But I've always been hard on myself, and especially since I got to Austin and got in the music scene here, where everybody is insanely talented, and everybody is good enough to be doing this at the highest level. Yeah. And so, I look around at my peers, and that's inspiration. Like, he's so good at that, or she sounds so good. Like when she does that, like I want to sound like that, like, and not copy, but like I want to have my own version of like what they're doing. And so, it's never been hard for me to find motivation in that feeling of like, I can be doing more. I can be more. I have a ton of faith and belief in myself that I have way more potential than I'm feeling right now. And so it's all this like journey to me of like, it's not like I'm going to take one big step and I'm going to get there, but I'm going to climb a mountain, and I'm going to, keep reaching that potential that I know that I have. And so that's the easy part. The harder part for me is to be like, look what you've done. Like, be proud of yourself. Yeah. Take a second and be proud of yourself, and that's hard.
So in regards to songwriting and writing your own songs, where do you take inspiration? Who are you not copying, but who are you mimicking? Who's someone that you look up to? Either someone who's super famous, or just, someone that you know? Yeah.
For me, it started out as John Mayer. I've been a big John Mayer guy since
I hated that guy for the longest
time.
Oh
yeah, at first I was like, oh my God.
I hate the way he makes that stupid face when he's soloing. and then I matured. Yes. And I'm like, oh, this guy is really, really good. I think it was the Dave Chappelle skit, honestly. Yes. That kind of like, okay, this guy's cool.
Oh, he's hilarious. And so he was like a big inspiration to me when I was like first starting to write songs. And he still is. I would say nowadays, like, I really look up to Jason Isbell, Chris Stapleton,
Good one.
Tyler Childers, Coulter Wall, Sturgill Simpson, and a lot of those guys are country guys. And my music is not. It's not country. It's got country influences.
It's got a little vibe
to it.
in there.
Yeah, it's got a little Western flair to it. You could
twang.
say. And so, but I think I kind of, I've a little bit. I've kind of forged like this little niche of like whatever my genre is. I don't even know what I call my genre other than I'm an indie musician because I'm independent. But yeah, those guys are like who I really look up to right now. Also, like Hosier is a big one as well.
What when you're writing, are you writing from experiences? Or are you writing from like, I don't know, just a creative, imaginative storytelling aspect?
It's a little bit of both. I like to take experiences or feelings that I'm having in my life, in my relationships, in my career, whatever it is. And then I like to be like, how can I make this more interesting to the listener? Like, how can I, add some like flair to this? And that's when like the imaginative storytelling part comes in. So it's like, like this thing is going on in my life and I kind of feel this way about it. But I was like, but what if I was a different person? And what if I acted this way about it? Like, what would happen then? And like, that's sort of like how I kind of craft lyrics usually.
Sure.
And then sometimes you just write lyrics and like, you don't really know where they come from. I think a lot of, like I've heard a lot of songwriters say like this one came from the universe, or like I just, this was like beamed out from space and like, I just happened to get it. And so, I've written a lot of songs like that too, where I'm just like, I don't know exactly where this came from, but it's maybe like a subconscious personal thing that you haven't even fully grasped your understanding of yet.
Do you read any, are there any particular types of literature you're into?
I used to be a big reader. I don't read that much these days.
Mostly watch, it is my career to watch videos now. So,
True.
And my parents were so wrong about that. They're like, Ramon, you need to stop watching TV at age 7. It's never going to help you. Oh, touche.
Yeah, I'm making videos right now for my job. So stuff on that.
So when you go into like Studio 601, well, first off, what was the difference between going into the studio at 11 versus going to the studio just recently?
I remember going to the studio at 11 and playing my song on the acoustic for them, and the guy, the engineer, he was just kind of like, he just charted out the song for me, and he's like, I'm gonna hire all these musicians, like we'll bring them in, like we'll track everything. All you got to do is like step in there and sing the song once we've tracked it. So it's very like hands-off experience, obviously, because I didn't know what was going on.
Sure.
I just knew that I wrote this song and like I know how it goes, so I can sing it.
Yeah.
And then now I still like to not be hands-off, but I still like to leave room for the experts to like do their magic. And I would, Eric Harrison, Mike Inger at Studio 601, those guys are experts. And so the first time I went in there with my first song that I did with them, Half a Man, we spent the first, hour and a half just kind of like punching up the song. Like let's move this part here, or let's like cut a little bit of this part out. Let's rearrange this song to where it's as good as it can possibly be, just from like a pure arrangement, lyrical, standpoint.
How did that make you feel that they were rearranging your concept, your idea, your passion?
Yeah, I was stoked about it because I said, I've got a good song here, but we can make it great if and these guys know what they're doing. So and it was like, it wasn't just like them being like, oh no, this has to cut out, or like this has to be this. It was like a collaborative joint effort of like, what if we tried this here, or like maybe like someone says maybe we do something different here, but we don't know what it is, and I think about it for a little bit, and now I've got the idea for what would make this part better. And so like I'm not possessive over my songs. Like I truly believe in like getting the right people, the people that know what they're talking about, and like taking their help. And so with other songs that I came in with, we didn't do that as much. We kind of just would maybe do like a small little editing, but we mostly just roll with them. And so their expertise came in like their playing and their mixing, their producing.
Have you heard, or did anyone mention them to you? Like, hey, you should go work with these guys, or have you heard previous work from them? Or how did you stumble upon them? Yeah,
so I met Eric Harrison. He had filled in to run sound for a wedding that I was singing at. Yeah. And this was November of 2023 when I met him.
Oh, right on. Okay.
And so, I met him and he was like, I have a studio. Would love for you to come by, play some songs.
He's ABS, always be selling.
Yes, he is. And
he's a hustler at that. I love it.
Yeah, and he sent me like some of the stuff they had worked on, and I was like, this is really good.
Yeah.
And so I just like went and hung out with them a couple times and like played them some stuff, and I was like, yeah, let's get some time booked. Let's make a song.
See, a guy like that, I would love to do that, and I think I am working on trying to promote myself that way, but just the fear of rejection is always in the back of my head, hey, I have this video idea, blah, blah, blah. And just hearing that, pretending to hear this email like, no, that's a terrible idea, even though it's never happened, even though that individual may not be thinking that. It's like that feeling always overcomes me, and I just don't ever do anything like Eric. And so I'm taking a lot of inspiration from him in trying to further my career.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you should, and like that goes for anybody that's doing anything. Right. Just like, I mean, obviously it's a cliche to say you miss every shot you don't take, but it's true.
Yeah.
And like I think I have that same feeling sometimes where I'm scared of what I think other people might think, which is never good or never helpful because you don't know what they think. So yeah, but I mean, it's the same thing where like, I'm really trying to work on that for myself too, just like shooting my shot.
Yeah, it takes a special type of mentality to do that. And we're going to pause real quick for Resolute Media commercial sponsored. I'm not going to say his name because he works for a big company and I don't want to get him fired. So this commercial is brought to you by Resolute Media. Resolute Media, recreating memories that last longer than herpes. I appreciate that one. That one's good. Very demure, very mindful, very resolute, very nice. Wild, very exotic, very raw. Resolute.
Wow.
Let me film you so you don't look like shit. That's actually, good. I like that one.
That's a good one.
Okay, last one. You say you want Resolute Media. Well, you know it comes with constipation. It's kind of falling flat. All right.
I don't get that.
I don't get that one either. But all right, cool. Thanks, individual.
Wow.
I'll tag you on social media. But
that was like a professional job, right? That was.
I think he'll keep his job. Because,
that was like Mad Men.
It was. But all right, where were we? Before I interrupted, talking about that feeling of trying to sell yourself.
Trying to sell yourself, yeah.
And Eric does a great job. So, what do you think the difference is between Mike and Eric? Like, if you had to label the characteristics, the ebb and flow with them, who's good at what? Who's better at not better, but what does each individual bring to a recording session, or more specifically, your recording session?
Yeah, I think Eric, historically, so far in my experience, was the one that would like have more ideas about like arrangement ways that we could mix it up, or like, like this needs a pre-chorus, or like the pre-chorus needs to be shorter, like stuff like that. And then Mike is like much more in the weeds and like doing for my songs, at least. I think he's done like most of the actual mixing. And like the more like technical aspects of it. And so I think they like kind of complement each other well in that way, with like someone who's maybe a little more technical and then someone who's got like a bigger picture idea of like what the song is going to be overall, and I think, and then like Eric will a lot of times, like when we're trying to find the harmony that we want to do on a certain section, he's really good at like, or like try this harmony line, or like try something like this. And a lot of times like sometimes that's what I appreciate the most about working with them is like, when I'm singing, like I'm not thinking about it when I go in there and like lay down my vocal track. Like I just go sing it like the way I would sing it, you know? And it's really like second nature to me. So then I get like this, you know, third party opinion that's like, what if you like did it a little like softer right there, or like sing it, or like, you know, sing it like this person, sing it like Brittany Howard would, and like stuff like that, where it's like just this small little change in the way that I do something that I do really naturally. It's like, oh, here's like a whole new way that I can make my voice sound that like changes the dynamic of this song.
That seems so obvious to me. Like, hey, sing it like this individual would. I immediately could feel that connection of like, oh, that clicks. That makes sense. Yeah. Where in my world, it's like it's a Jackson Pollock painting. I'm throwing shit at the wall that I think is cool, and then the client will come back and, you know, kind of rearrange things. And I've learned to detach myself from every project because it's their work, it's their art. I'm just the facilitator of it. But man, to have someone say like, oh yeah, make it like a Tarantino movie, I would be like, right on, let's do it.
Perfect.
That's brilliant. I would never thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems simple, but
I've been in that studio for quite some time now, and it's just like I'd never heard a thing like that, a concept like that. So when you're going through this recording process, how do you know? What's the gut sensation when you know a song is done?
When it's done, like ready to be recorded, or like
when like you're done tinkering with it, when you're done playing around with it. How do you know? Is it just a feeling? Is it everyone kind of on the same page?
Yeah, I think we sort of like, you know, when you record a song and track it, like you attack it piece by piece, like let's get just like a scratch track down with the guitar and the vocals that we can build off of. And then from there, it's like, all right, now we'll do the drums and we'll do the bass. And then it's like, all right, those are like these basic aspects of the song that we've now laid down. Where do we go from here to like build this into a finalized, you know, product? Or I don't want to call it a product because it's not, it's an art piece, but
it is. Yeah.
A finalized version. Right. So, and I lost my train of thought now.
Yeah. Sorry. I fucking wanted to murk it so bad, but,
so like I would say
you're building the house essentially.
You're building the house. And then like, I don't overthink it. It's not like a feeling of like it clicks, like, oh, now it's perfect. Yeah. A lot of times it's like, I want to get this song done on like tracking this day because studio time's expensive. Yeah. And like, I'm trying to get a lot of songs done.
Yeah.
So let's just fucking like fly through this, like, and you know, treat it well, but like we're all professionals here. We can all get our shit done in 1 or 2 takes if we need to. And then a lot of times, like after we've spent the day and we've tracked the acoustic guitar, we've tracked the vocals, we've tracked the drums, we've tracked the bass. Maybe we, you know, brought someone in to play some electric or some slide guitar or some keys or something. Like we've done all that. Now let's take a step back and look at it and kind of listen to what we've tracked so far. And it's like, does this need something else? Yeah. Sometimes it does. Sometimes, like for the first song I did, Half a Man, we're like, let's bring in a string quartet on this song. Let's like really, really go all the way here and make this sound really professional and nice. Yeah. And so that's what we did. We, you know, brought in a string quartet, and that was, you know, a couple weeks after we had initially tracked everything. Oh, so that one was sitting in limbo for a little bit.
That requires a lot of patience, I imagine. Like you have this thing almost there and then you're putting like the icing on the cake and it's just.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, and that was the first one I had done with them. So I was like, just really antsy to like hear a final product. Right. And like, you know, for me, it was like, I loved the song. I love what we did with it. So I could listen to it I could listen to the rough, you know, cut of it before there was ever the strings on it. I was like, this sounds great to me. Yeah. But like, there's like this vision of like, this can go from like just being like a fun, nice sounding recording to like a real professional song, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just like you track everything that day. You bring someone in to play, you know, lead guitar on it, or whatever. And then it's like, this doesn't need anything else. Like it doesn't, and you know, you don't want to overproduce something. You know, like let's like let these pieces that we have, like let's let them speak for themselves. And so, you know, but I think, you know, once you've kind of planned out, like, we want to bring this in on it. We want to bring someone in to play the slide guitar. We want to bring in a string quartet. And then it's like, I think those are the right ideas. Let's trust how we're feeling about it. Let's execute on those ideas. And like, from there, you have all the pieces you need. And then you got, you know, Mike and Eric doing their wizardry on the mixing board and like making it sound really nice. And it's a song.
Who's the Steve Jobs and who's the Wozniak? I'm thinking Eric is the Steve Jobs in a very nice manner, because I've heard a lot of bad stories about Steve Jobs.
Right.
And Mike is just the wizard behind it, just like, oh yeah, we'll plug this here and we'll move this here. And,
I think that's accurate.
Okay.
Yes. Eric is very Steve Jobs-esque.
Yeah. So how much
I
longer?
hope he hears this.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
I try to get them on, but they're just so slammed and so busy. And Eric's doing West Texas Exiles and also running the studio. And Mike, he has a kid and doing that full time. So I'm like, oh my God, when do you guys have time to breathe? But
they're super busy. Every time I talk to them, I know they're busy, which is good.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm glad that, I mean, the day they come on my podcast, I'm like, oh, so you guys are slow, huh?
Yeah.
How much longer till you think you can put an album together?
Yeah, so what my plan is right now, so we're sitting here, it's December 11th. My first song that I did with 601, Half a Man, came out November 8th. My second song came out last Friday, December 6th. My next song...
right?
Huh?
Now?
Yep. Yes, that's right, now. My next song will be coming out early January, probably January 3rd. And then I've got 2 more after that that'll be out, February, March, basically. And if I can get...
How many songs is that?
That'll be 5 total.
Okay.
So that's 5 total that'll be out by the end of February or early March. And if I can... My plan is if I can get like 3 or 4 more done in that time span, I'll keep going on like a month-over-month basis. Okay. And so by like... basically the spring, I will have what I would call an album of like 8 or 9 songs.
I used to think that it took a long time to put an album together. And I'm like, okay, we're in modern age now with all the tools and technology and software. Why can't albums come out quicker, faster? And then I actually, again, been working with Studio 601. I'm like, oh, okay, that's why it takes time. It takes time to figure all these characteristics of a song out. And that's what makes me appreciate an album now when it comes out, because there's so much time and effort that goes into it.
Yeah. I mean, I started recording Half a Man in January at the beginning of this year. And a lot of it is like the fact that I've got a day job, so like I've got to schedule time out to when I can go into the studio and actually work. But so that just started in January, and then that came out in November, and we got 4 other songs done in that time span between January and November. Yeah. So we were working at a pretty fast pace for how busy we all are.
Sure. No, yeah. Do you like the way music is distributed these days? Because back in the day, I'd have to go to Best Buy or Amoeba Music out in LA, buy a shit ton of CDs, and I have them all at my disposal. Yeah. Now, if an album comes out, I just get on my phone and start listening to it.
Yeah, I think it's good and bad, because now I can like post a TikTok and some person that has never heard of me before comes across it, and like this happened today. Like someone commented on a TikTok of mine and was like, "You just made a new fan. Like I just added all your songs to my library." And like, that's amazing.
What a hell of a day.
Yeah. Like that's so awesome that like someone can just stumble across that online and all of a sudden they're listening to your music now. And like, that wouldn't have happened, 20 years ago. So that's a great aspect of it, that like music is easily accessible. So if you're just an independent artist trying to like build your catalog and build your audience, it's easier for them to find you.
Right.
But of course, now that it's so not easy to make music, but people can make music out of their bedroom, and anybody can go on DistroKid and get their songs on Spotify and Apple Music. There's so much more music out there than there ever has been before. So to find a way, for your music to cut through all the noise, like that's the hard part.
I am seeing a similarity in that a lot of the successful videos that I see online are from cell phones. And
Yep.
I've invested a lot in my camera gear and equipment. And so what I'm trying to find is, how do I balance the time spent with my creativity in a video versus like just getting it out there? Because I want to put out quality, but then at the same time, the videos that people are liking and, you know, all these stupid skits that everyone's doing, which I absolutely hate. Please don't ever do a skit, Grayson. If you ever do one, oh my God.
I don't know if I'm a skit material.
But just like those simple things are getting so much more reach. They're getting so much more exposure. And in my head, it's eating me alive. Oh my God, they're getting the job because they just put out something completely stupid and random, yet it's working. It's resonating with the audience.
Yeah.
So in regards to how do you think you're going to cut through the noise of this beautiful thing because there's so much music? I don't think that having all this music is necessarily a bad thing, but
No,
in order
not at
to I don't know, survive in the industry, you kind of have to cut through all that.
Yeah.
How do you think you're going to do that?
So for me, the way I look at it is, I know that the music I'm making is good.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in that wholeheartedly. I believe in myself. I believe that I have, you know, the talent, and I've put in the work to be able to cut through the noise and cut through the, you know, all that. So for me, the way I look at it is like, if I just keep doing what I'm doing, if I keep writing music, if I keep recording music and putting it out and playing gigs and putting myself out there, it will work out for me eventually. It may take 10 years, and like that, you know, like who knows? Like I could go have a video go viral tomorrow, right? And then like everything is different, but like,
right.
That's not my goal, is to just like have something go viral and then like I'm popular for 15 minutes and then like nobody cares anymore. Like I want to build my catalog and like build my reputation as someone who is in it for like making good music.
Yeah.
And I think eventually like the good things will come to me. And like I love stand-up comedy, right? And I like listen to a lot of stand-up comedians talk about the industry that stand-up is, and like it takes 10 years of like just doing open mics and like doing shitty, you know, middle act sets and like being terrible before you ever like even get good enough to like be a headliner and do an hour long, you know, set. And like music's very different, but like there is that, like I kind of, I'm like, let me treat it that way. Like, let me just grind and like put the work in. And even if it takes a long time, like I'm going to just keep my foot on the gas.
Yeah. An interesting conversation I had with Joe Begley, who's also a comedian here in Austin. I was following him around one night, and he made a good point in that, you know, if you're starting out in comedy, you should be allowed to do someone else's bit. That way you can figure out if it's, because you know the joke works. Mm-hmm. You've seen that comedian do it. So if you deliver it in a very bad way, you know that it's not the joke, it's you.
Right.
And he attributed it to the way a musician plays covers. Because that's how you first get introduced into playing music. You're playing someone else's song. And I thought like, wow, that would, if only comedians could do that. But I feel like they even have a, you know, harder route because they have to carve out their own way of delivering a joke.
Oh, for sure. And like, I
also listened to that Joe Rogan podcast. and he was it's very honest. Yeah. It takes time to build up those muscles.
Yes. That's funny. No, I mean, stand up, that's probably in my mind, like so much harder than doing music.
Just to eat. I mean, that truly, you have to learn how to eat a shit sandwich.
Yeah.
Day
And like literally
day
like, I mean, you can make money playing music and like playing gigs, and you know, maybe you're not killing it, but you can make money.
Right.
Like stand up, you got to work a long time before you probably are going to really make any money.
It's very tough. And following him around each night, the first night, he'll even say this, like he was trying new bits because he knew his other stuff would work. Mm-hmm. But on this night, when we were doing like a night in the life of a comedian, he was just eating shit for 3 shows. Right. He was trying to work this F1 bit, and I'm like, okay. By the second show, he said to me, Ramon, I'm not going to do this the third set. I go, oh yeah, sure. It's not working.
It's not working.
And the first thing he did was he went right into the bit. I go, Joe, what are you doing? and then of course we just did a recent one, and he crushed all 3 shows. It got good laugh, but because he was he front loaded jokes that he knew he already had in the bag that were going to work, and then he started sprinkling in some newer stuff, and that stuff alone just it interests me to see the process of things. And that's why I love being in the studio too, because you get to see the process of how this thing is going to be built and created. And it's very fascinating to watch. And I'm a lucky dude to be a part of, any project. So, but yeah, seeing the creative process unfold before my eyes, it's really something to behold. And if I'm interested, that means there's an audience for it. So
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Now you're a data guy.
I'm a dead guy, yes.
Spotify gives you analytics, and Nico Little was very, he was interested in that because he knows who's listening to his music. Mm-hmm. Do you think that is a good tool for musicians to have?
Yeah, like my analytics were very small, I guess I would say, because I've just started putting out this music in November.
Right,
so a lot of this stuff has not really been captured yet, but like just from what I can tell by like fooling around on the tools a little bit, I think it will be really helpful to see like where are people listening to me, and like who else do they listen to, and that sort of thing. And like, I mean, the thing that's I kind of like seeing so far is like how many people, like what's like the average stream of my song like per listener. So I'm like, so like people are listening to it like more than once, which is good. They're coming back to it. That means they like it. So yeah, I think like obviously like I'm a bit of a numbers guy with my day job, so I am really interested to see like how the analytics progress as I put more music out and there's more data to be looked at.
Right. Do you think you can fall into a trap of just making music that is, well, because in reality, you're also creating music for your audience. Like if a large portion of people like one particular song and there's an element in there, you can kind of track it down. But do you feel like you can get just stuck in that because you're chasing numbers?
I'm sure you very easily could.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm early on in this process, and right now I'm telling myself like I want to make music that I like, and also I can only write what I can write, and like if maybe production wise we're like, oh, people like it when you put a slide guitar in there, so maybe we'll do that on the production. But like when it comes to like writing the music, it has to be authentic, or I can't even like fathom playing it for anyone, much less like releasing it or paying money to record it and release it.
I feel like people can feel that there's a lack of authenticity in music. And I kind of felt like that when I went to ACL this year. We saw this band called St. Vincent. Are you familiar with them?
I'm familiar with them. Yeah, I don't really know much of their stuff. What
really kind of perturbed me about them was that during their set, they were playing the main stage. They were playing one of the big stages at ACL. The stage that faces, or that if you're looking at it, you're facing the skyline. I think it's the Chase stage or whatever. Yeah. And they, during middle of their set, they were like, we're headed out to LA to record our first album. And that, exactly, I was like, Their first album. I remember vividly looking that up. I'm like, oh yeah, they haven't really put out an album yet.
Oh wow.
And that made me feel upset because how did they get to this point in their career where they're playing a pretty big stage, and granted it's on Sunday and it's earlier on in the day. I think it was like 2:00, 3:00.
But it's ACL on a big stage.
But it's ACL. And my mind went to like, you guys are fucking here. You haven't even put an album together. It feels like you didn't do the work. Something other than your music got you to this point. How big is your social media? Whose ass did you kiss? All these things kind of went into my mind because being adjacent to the music community, I know how hard it takes to, get shows in Austin. So like, what the fuck? How are they playing the biggest show?
Yeah.
So how does that make you feel as maybe someone who's attending a festival versus now a real working musician?
Yeah. I mean, when I hear that, I think maybe they haven't put out an album because they were just so focused on just like hitting the road and playing shows.
Sure.
and which I, like that's a grind that I can respect.
Okay, sure. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, like maybe that's where all the work went into, was like they were playing shitty venues for years, and I don't know what their story is or anything.
Again,
about
I'd
them.
never at that moment I was like, I wasn't thinking about that.
Right.
So thank you for enlightening me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as someone who like I put out a couple songs like back in like 2018 when I was like a freshman in college or whatever, and like I didn't promote it. I just wrote these songs as like, oh yeah, I'll go record them in my hometown and put them out, and I think they're good songs. I'm proud of how they sound, but I didn't do anything to push them, right? And then because I was just like, I like playing live music. That's what I liked to do. And so it wasn't until the beginning of this year where I was like, I'm writing all these songs. Like, let's record them. Let's put them out, and like let's try to promote them and like see if people like them. And so yeah, I don't know. Maybe some people they focus less on like putting out a bunch of music and like this playing more,
right?
And it doesn't always like work to like get you the big gigs, but maybe for them it did. Who knows? Or maybe they just kissed the right person's ass and knew the right people. But I don't know. Like it doesn't make me feel like negatively towards them necessarily, because I think there's a lot of different ways you could get to where you want to be in the music industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try not to be a hater anymore. But and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, that was definitely 21-year-old Ramon when he thought every music bands like John Mayer, Taylor Swift, all these individuals suck because it wasn't, Queens of the Stone Age music. It wasn't Interpol music. It wasn't, all the cool shit that I was listening to. And now as I gotten older, I'm like, well, if it makes people happy and, they're dancing and vibing to it, then maybe there's something there, and I should not be a curmudgeon.
Right. Trust me. I mean, like, I have to work, like, I think about that a lot too, because like I'll find myself like being a hater of like, I'm like, oh, this is just pop music. This is like just for the masses. And then I'm like, but did I actually like take the time to listen to it and like critically think about it? And then and I do, and I'm like, oh, okay, like I get why this is popular. I get why this resonates with people. And maybe it's like, it's so different from anything that I would ever write or, put out, but like that's not a bad thing.
Right. Yeah. I remember in 8th grade, some of my friends were really into Pantera and Slipknot. And at the time I was really into Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blink-182, coming from Southern California into a small West Texas town. These guys were listening to this heavy metal music. And I go, what are you guys so angry about? This like we're still young. I mean, this music is just very aggressive and loud and angry. You should be listening to some cool music like me. And now at 37, I really love Pantera because there's a lot to be angry about.
Right.
I've grown into this adulthood, and it's like, okay, this is, there's a lot of good stuff to be angry about, and I'm glad I'm channeling it through music. But,
dude, I was like such a like asshole when I was in, middle school, and I was like, oh, I'm better than everybody around me because I listen to the oldies. I listen to the Rolling Stones and and Bob Seger and the Grateful Dead. Like
you guys don't know what cool is.
You guys don't know what cool music is. And then like I'm just like up my own ass about that at that time, obviously. But
and so another thing I want to ask your professional opinion about Jack White recently, and I already asked 2 other musicians about this concept, but Jack White recently did a show at a small venue called Continental Club.
Yes,
and it can barely hold probably 80, 90, 100 people. And he also played Mohawk. Now, the thing of it is that he charged the same price for both tickets, $150 for Continental Club on a Tuesday at 11 a.m. And his night show was going to be at Mohawk for $150, same thing. How does that make you feel?
I didn't know he charged $150 for a ticket. I mean, that's a lot. And I get, he's Jack White. He can command that sort of price, especially for that experience of seeing him in an intimate venue.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I've seen like, I think like Leon Bridges did a similar thing,
the
and I
same
don't
thing?
know what he charged. Or
I
if
don't
he did
remember
charge.
either,
but I mean, when I hear that, I think the first thing I think is, God, that must be so cool to have played the biggest stages and then to come back and play in an intimate venue for a packed room of people that stood in line to be there to see you. Like, God, that must be such a cool feeling. But I mean, maybe it feels like a little bit anti music to charge such high ticket prices, but that's like across the board nowadays. It's so expensive to go see, a concert in general now, which sucks because like this music should be something that everybody has access to. And that's why like it's so important to support small independent musicians and go see their shows when they're free to go see.
Yeah, $10, $20, that's nothing compared to other shows these days.
Like you can go see...
You're getting the same quality of talent.
Yeah, I mean, you can go see Katrina Kane right now in Austin.
Oh yeah, that's right.
For like a $10 cover somewhere, and that might not be the case in the next few years. No. Like when she's blowing up, and she's selling big tickets for big venues. Like that's why it's important to go support those local artists, more than ever.
My thought was, he's a successful musician. He owns his own label. I know he has overhead, but I also know that he used to play for $10 with him and Meg when he was doing, the White Stripes.
Right.
And if I were to be a successful musician and I were able to throw a surprise show, like, leaking the event 2 hours before, the individuals that are able to show up to that show at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, $20-$40, whatever.
Right.
Just let's pack first come, first serve. You can't like buy the ticket ahead of time. Just come in and enjoy the show and, throw your audience a bone in a way. Throw your fans a bone, because I'm okay with the $150 price tag at Mohawk when it was already, he sent it out ahead of time. Like he already scheduled that. We were aware of that show. But yeah, the surprise show, just like, man, it put a bad taste in my mouth. It seems so unbecoming of who he was as like a musician who, made his own label, he made his own instruments, he was an upholsterer to begin with. And so he knows the value of hard work.
Yeah.
He knows, like us as Americans, we're kind of struggling in this economic, downturn that we have.
Yeah.
So just like, fucking come on.
Yeah.
Make it free if that,
No, I would agree. But, I mean, obviously, like I tell myself that if I was ever at that point in my career where I could come play this really cool, intimate surprise show, like I would love to let people in for free or for $10-$20.
Or take care of the house, do whatever you can. Like charge as much as you need to take care of the bartenders and everybody. And
right. Exactly. Yeah.
But it just like, it made me think of him differently, and I don't like that because I grew up listening to him and, I respected what he's done, but it just like, you either live long enough to be their hero or whatever that Batman says.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
I can't remember.
It's hard to say. Who knows how we would be in that situation.
That's also true.
But like, and who knows like what's behind all that? Like what the production costs are, like why they had to be that expensive. I can't imagine they didn't make money on those kind of prices, but
yeah, I'm sure there's a good ROI there.
Right.
Okay, dude. This is towards the end of the podcast where I ask you whether or not you clean out your shower drain because your wife is just constantly not doing it. But I know you're not you're not married, or do you live with your girlfriend?
I live with my girlfriend.
Okay,
yes,
good.
I do.
So when it comes to the shower drain, who's cleaning that out?
I'm gonna be honest. It's usually her.
Oh, you got marry her right now. No,
yeah, right.
It's just one of those things that I don't have a lot to complain about in my life, and just like every time I look in the shower drains, there's fucking globs of hair. I'm like, all right,
yeah,
it's not mine. We know it's not mine.
Oh, I can't even say that. Like, I contribite to that.
Sure, but
my hair's falling out all over the place.
Oh, stop it! You're fine. You'll have that rug.
Well, no, it grows back at a faster pace, so it's all good. But no, I'm contributing to that for sure.
Well, what are you excited for in 2025, other than the making of those other 3 songs?
Yeah, I'm excited to start playing shows with a full band where I'm going to be playing like my original music.
That's awesome.
and I've played my original stuff just in my like acoustic sets, but I haven't played it yet with a full band.
Do you have some people already lined up for your band?
Yes, I do. I've got
or people in mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, we actually just had like our first rehearsal the other night.
Oh, sweet.
And it's all guys that I've played with a bunch before. Cool. And another band that I was in. So yeah, we've got our first like show together on January 17th.
Oh, right on.
It's at Treaty Oak Distillery in Dripping Springs.
Nice. Okay.
They have a really cool space there, a bunch of big outdoor space with a cool stage.
Very cool.
So yeah, we're going to be playing my original stuff along with like a bunch of covers that I really like to play that are kind of special to me.
Sure.
And hopefully from there, just like kind of keep building on that. I've got another show that's like out in May right now, but there'll be some in between. I can imagine.
Yeah.
We're just kind of getting the ball rolling there. So I'm really excited to just like start playing my stuff out with a band in 2025 and put out the rest of my music. And honestly, my goal is just to keep playing and then really keep writing and keep myself in the studio to be able to just keep putting music out. Because if I can do that, like, so I'll get to where I really want to be eventually.
If you keep doing that, you'll definitely get to where you need to be. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Music and...
All right, dude. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. Keep playing and then really keep writing and keep myself in the studio to be able to just keep putting